also where we have a 1960 turntable installed there, allowing us to turn our locomotives around depending on what track in our rail yard that it needs to go to. So once we arrive in our East Chattanooga Depot, we will allow you folks to get off to come and see our turntable so that we can give you a demonstration. And after that turntable demonstration, I will be bringing you folks to our back shop, which is the large warehouse in our rail yard where we do the actual restoration process on our equipment.
We went that way. The engine, the locomotive's that way. That's pretty cool to actually experience that live.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving towards East Chattanooga. Along our journey, we will be passing alongside some of the first railroads to be built here in the Chattanooga area, as well as passing over several railroad bridges and passing through the Missionary Ridge Tunnel. Along our trip, I will be speaking to you about the history of and locations of the area we will be passing through. Right now, if you look to the left of our train, you can see a gravel driveway there. You can see a display yard down there. And this display yard is where we have some of our equipment from Fallen Flag Railroad. Now, the term Fallen Flag means it is a railroad that is unfortunately no longer in existence, either due to the fact that it lost money and went bankrupt, or it ended up merging with another railroad. A good example of a merged railroad would be Norfolk Southern, which is actually the successor of both the Southern Railway and the Norfolk and Western Railway. In fact, the rail line that we will be driving on today was actually once the main line of the Southern Railway here in the Chattanooga area. That is up until the year of 1954, due to reasons I will get to later on our journey. we are moving out of our display yard. And to the very left of our train is where the East Tennessee and Georgia Railway used to exist back in the 1800s. Specifically being built and constructed in the 1850s, this would eventually become the Southern Railway after merging with several other railroads. The Southern Railway, in the 1890s, the Southern Railway would decide to remove their original rail line down there, and they would later build a new main line, which is where we are located today. Now, the reason why they did this, the reason why the Southern decided to remove that original rail line down there was because they did not want to have to deal with the flooding that was common here in Chattanooga. Chattanooga used to be extremely prone to flooding before the construction of the Chickamauga Dam in the Great Depression. In fact, during the Great Flood of 1867, there was the high water mark of that flood would rise an entire 9 feet above the rail line down there. In total, it swelled about 58 feet above the regular water level of the South Chickamauga Creek. And now we are coming up on the very first railroad to be built in Chattanooga, that being the W&A Railway, the Western and Atlantic, being built back in the 1830s, built as a rail line between the cities of Terminus, Georgia, known today as Atlanta, Georgia, with Chattanooga, Tennessee. Today, that the Western and Atlantic is now part of the CSX operating line here in the Chattanooga area. And it's also where a famous event from the Civil War took place, that being the Great Locomotive Chase in 1862. In the year of 1862, there was a Union spy known as James Andrews, who, with the help of some other Union men who were known as Andrews Raiders, made their way down to the town of Big Shanty, Georgia, where they were able to commandeer a steam locomotive known as the General. They were able to steal this locomotive while the train was stopped for the passengers and the crew while they were having breakfast at the time. They were able to uncouple that locomotive from the passenger cars, and they were able to head out towards Chattanooga, cutting off and destroying the rail lines so that they could isolate the Confederate Army from receiving reinforcements or any kind of supplies. Now, when Andrews and his men did put their plan to action and commandeered that locomotive, they were pursued by a very angry conductor, Mr. William Fuller, who pursued them first on foot and then pursued them with several different steam locomotives, finally able to acquire a steam locomotive that was known as the Texas. And he would keep pursuing them until they eventually literally ran out of steam just outside of Ringgold, Georgia. When they ran out of steam outside of Ringgold, Georgia, they would try to make a run for it, but they would be caught. And just a week after they were caught, they would be trialed and hanged in Atlanta for treason. And after that, the bodies of Andrews and Andrews Raiders reside in the National Cemetery in downtown Chattanooga. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now passed Trevor Tunnel Boulevard and we are approaching the Missionary Ridge Tunnel. This is a pre-Civil War era tunnel that was completed in 1858. And it is roughly the same length as 3 football fields, being about 986 feet in length. This tunnel is the main reason why the Southern Railway would abandon this line in 1954, due to the fact that this was a double-tracked main line with the exception of the tunnel, which is a single portal tunnel. And this often caused for a bottleneck of railroad traffic and caused problems, especially during World War II, where there were many freight trains going back and forth on this rail line each and every day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going around Hunziker Curve. We will soon be in view of the tunnel. Our engineer is about to blow the horn, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Our engineer is blowing the horn of our locomotive, letting us know that we are approaching the tunnel. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to experience a 986-foot pre-Civil War era tunnel, completely dug out with only shovels and picks and without the use of dynamite. Ladies and gentlemen, it is tunnel time in Tennessee. Gentlemen, we have emerged from the other side of Missionary Ridge and we are approaching our destination. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a few safety rules I must go over with you before we arrive here in our rail yard for your own safety, of course. So first and foremost, we will be giving a tour here. So this is a guided tour, so please stay with your group at all times. And please do not wander off into the gravel areas at any point on our tour. Please stay 30 feet back from the rope barrier at the turntable. And please do not stand or climb on any of our railroad equipment here in the rail yard. Thank you for hopefully listening.
What do we do with our food? Leave it here. Can we just leave our food here? Okay.
I'm not scared. What if I have the couch over here?
to the platform. Please take your time down the stairs. Do not take 26 steps down these 11 stairs. It never works. Never. Okay, take your time. With that being said, you can make your way to the left all the way down to the turntable area. Stand behind the yellow line. Well, actually, there's no yellow line there. Stand about 3 feet from the rope. Once we get everyone off, I'm going to go down there, couple the engine, take it down. We're going to spin it around. All right? We'll be here in just a minute. I'll tell you when it's time. Encountered you earlier, I would have just forced them to do it because I'm so sorry.
The person at the desk kept saying that they got it all booked.
I wonder if they had some big group that you can't account for big. You can't account for big groups if they don't show up either, even if it worked.
They were standing there at 3:30. While we were on the train, they were standing there waiting, talking to her. She said no, that they were sold out.
Y'all gotta leave after this
Everybody
though.
showed up.
Y'all have to leave after this. Greatly.
My mom and sister, they just to do something else.
Okay. Well, I'll give them a talking to, and I'm so sorry.
It's okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please just make sure to stay 3 feet back from the ropes. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is our 1916 turntable that we have here in our East Chattanooga rail yard. It has been here since 1982. It was originally built by the American Bridge Company in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, and it operated for the Central Georgia Railway in the towns of Macon, Georgia and Cedartown, Georgia during its years of operation and service. Now, this was originally a hand-powered turntable. There would have only been about 4 people at a time that would have turned this thing back then in the 1910s when it was first constructed. And this is pretty impressive because this is actually an 80-ton turntable. And we are actually about to turn around 200 tons in total for you folks in just a moment, because that 200 tons is a combined weight of the turntable and this 120-ton diesel locomotive right here. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to bring the 606 onto our turntable, and I will tell you about the history of this diesel locomotive. This locomotive was originally built in the year 1954. It was originally a switching engine, or a switcher rather, and it's what is known as an SW1200. The SW part of that name standing for switcher. This was a switching engine for the Milwaukee Road. which is a railroad that had a vast network throughout America. And for a number of years, it would serve as a switcher for this railway throughout its vast system until the 1980s, when the Milwaukee Road would suspend its operations and this locomotive would be retired from that railroad. Later on in its life, the 606 would actually operate for more than 25 years of service for the United States Navy. Now, in the latter part of its service with the Navy, it would serve in Crane, Indiana for a number of years. It would continue to serve the Navy in Crane, Indiana until 2015, when we here at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum would acquire this locomotive from the United States Navy. And once we brought it here to East Chattanooga into our museum, we would give it a nod to its original Milwaukee Road paint scheme, while also giving it our own Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum paint scheme. And ever since we acquired this locomotive, it has become a part of our vast fleet of diesel locomotives here at TVRM. And we do occasionally have it running passenger trips, just like it is today on our Missionary Ridge Railroad. And that's what we call a no-hitter in the railroad world, ladies and gentlemen. This means that our conductor here was successfully able to line up the turntable with the track on his first try. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our 1960 turntable turning our 1954 diesel locomotive. So now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to join me for part 2 of our tour here in East Chattanooga, you can join me just up here at the crossing where I'm walking to, and I will take you folks to our back shop. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your friend Eli speaking to you. I'd like to thank you once again for coming out to join us here at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in riding any of our other train rides that we offer here at our museum, you can check those out at tvrail.com. And don't forget, with the purchase of your ticket, you are free to go to the Archives building on the other side of the parking lot back at Grand Junction Station. Once again, I'd like to thank you very much for coming out today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Next stop, Grand Junction.